In October 2008, standing in the Volvo boardroom in Hoskote, Bangalore, India, in a dark room with heavy furniture in front of me, with the air conditioning running at full blast, at the same time with a large number of charts depicting growth on volume, depicting new product plans, depicting investments, were pasted on the board. I walked up to them, I pulled those charts apart, I opened the door and let my management team in. The global financial crisis 2008 was there, and I was in midst of it with my team. It had affected the globe, it had affected India, and it had affected all the businesses in India. I stood there and I felt that something in the ground was sinking. The feeling at that moment took me back to my childhood when, as a 12, 13-year-old, I remembered this incident of being in the middle of a big lake in a large boat with another 13, 14 children, and the boat was taking in water, and it was actually sinking. And the other friends in my age group, they knew swimming. They jumped out of the boat and they started to head towards the shore. And here I was, more or less standing alone on one side with a bunch of 7, 8-year-old children like me who were very, very nervous. They were shouting, they were scared, they were screaming, they were moving their hands out. They were either trying to put it away from water or into the water or trying to hold on to the boat, which means that the large boat was shaking all the time and taking in water faster. And things were going down and down and down. And back in the boardroom, that's exactly the feeling I had. A little bit of weakness in the nerves when you're not confident with what's happening around you. The financial crisis had put the banking system in India into protective mode. The financial crisis was such a scare that people stopped traveling. When people stopped traveling, buses started to go empty. When buses started to go empty, operators started to withdraw their schedules on the buses they were running every day. When they started to withdraw their schedules, they started immediately to face heavy losses, and all that order book and the lovely growth charts, that did not matter. You were there standing as a leader and as a team with nothing to do, from everything to do just yesterday. I have been a keen, active sportsman in my young days, and in one of the sports where I played professionally in basketball, we had a saying in the team: if the going gets tough, the tough get going. And that's what we felt at that moment, and I felt as a leader at that moment that we need to get going because everything around us had stopped. Our factory, our business, our customers, our suppliers. So there was a need to go out and communicate. Because if you do not do that for 700, 800 employees within your organization, they are anyway communicating in the corridors, and the gossip may be right or wrong. And you realize that you belong to a large group. But in a situation like this, as the leader, the buck stopped in India at you. So therefore, as a team, we started to communicate with all the employees. What was the real situation? What did we need to do? How did it look? What could this crisis do? Could it affect our business? Could it affect our jobs? Because yes, all that could happen. We started to clearly move out all the temporary workforce so that we could keep that fixed workforce within the company when the business comes back. So we had to reorganize the whole industrial system in order to have rotational working with either no volumes or very low volumes. We had to form 60 teams and work with OD, which we were doing in that company, in order to be able to take out methods and methodologies to bring in cost reduction on products, on administration expenses, on factory expenses, on dealerships, and so on and so forth. It was a very difficult situation. But we were acting. At the same time, it was equally important to go out to customers. And while we were doing all the cost cutting inside, first of all, the suppliers were facing the same problem because all the original equipment manufactured had disappeared with business. So it was also important for us to communicate to our suppliers. It was also important for us to make sure that at least we can clear out, as a big company, their full payment or part payment due with us in order to make sure that they survive. Because when the business from a temporary crisis would be back, if you don't have your suppliers with you, what do? A zero start into business. And your business and your bread and your butter comes from your customers. And when you are in trouble, you're looking at yourself and it's so easy to forget them. But you can't forget them. So as a company, as a leader, I took a conscious decision that while we can cut what we want to cut with our industrial or factory or our other administrative expenses, when it comes to selling expense, we will take a different approach. We will double what we do as interaction with our customers. Why? The customer was sitting there alone. There were customers who had fleets of 1,000 buses, and there were customers who had fleet of 10 buses. And their coaches and city buses were sitting more or less most of the time in the workshop, and that's not where they need to be, or the depots. They need to be out on the field. And all the bus industry competitors had disappeared because everyone was busy solving their own things. So while there was a problem, there was an opportunity. Can we turn our customer for whom we are a supplier actually through interacting with them into not a supplier relationship, but a partner relationship? And instead of 5 days, we started interacting out in the market 6 days in a week, becoming a little bit a part of their problem, but also becoming a little bit part of their solution to help them to get private and public financing for our private customers, to try to do out-of-box solutions to get some kind of volume inside the company so that the industrial system starts to roll again. We went to the central government and the state governments and we insisted there that you talk a lot about changing things in the city, changing the environment problem, the pollution problem, and most importantly, the congestion problem, and you want to bring down the need for private transport. You want to reduce, as you say, the number of cars and two-wheelers. But can you not do something now when you have a situation at hand, when the global business is down, the Indian economy is down, that you bring in a package and you help the 25, 30 cities, big cities of India, to take in city buses in so that people can follow more public transport in such times, and you, by that, focus on helping all the industries which have invested happily into the commercial vehicle segment in India. Playing in a team as a sportsman, you learn that perseverance, patience, hard work is all very important before you get the results. You need to create trust, you need to create loyalty, without which you do not get what you want. And I think the journey was right. We, during those difficult times, started to see results coming in over a period of time, which really meant that while we were standing as a team and having a sinking feeling, we were able to stabilize the boat. It felt like if you were driving a car and you had a steering wheel in your hand, when the car was moving, it was easy to steer. But if the car stopped, you were actually struggling to move the steering wheel. You cannot. So therefore, it was very important that if you have a very difficult situation, the strong go out and engage. Engage by communicating, engage by making changes, engage by turning challenges into opportunity. The business turned. Our employees stayed very loyal because we did not take them out. The central government came out with a heavy package for the first time in history to support 25, 30 cities to bring in modern city buses. While all competitors were sleeping, Volvo was out taking that business because we were the ones actually working to get that business. We had the customers with whom we were spending time. They came overwhelmingly into our business over the next 3 years with their loyalty and with their orders. And all of a sudden, that brought in the thought back into the boat. What should you do in such circumstances? Like some others, jump out and go into the water and try to get to shore? Or try to be in the middle of the storm and the sinking boat if you have to be, and try to help to guide others to make sure that you and they don't drown and get the boat out? And I think that is what we managed to do. And that meant that even today, Volvo is a household name in India because of the presence and the image in all the cities of these beautiful buses running not only on long distance, but also very much in the city transport. So as a leader, I felt that it was very important to take the call, to take the opportunity, to create the trust, to communicate, to walk the talk, and have the loyalty which comes in for the companies out of such results. Thank you for your patience.